And a good morning, or afternoon, evening, whenever you guys are catching this vid. This is your amplified Raw review for July 6th, 2020. I'll be your host, the Amplified Man, as we go on this journey together. Now, I was pretty sure for the longest time that my last words on this earth was going to be, "Hold my beer, I got this." But over the last several years and watching how tragic WWE has become, I became convinced that my new words before I leave this earth was going to be nothing but a boatload of profanity directed at the old man in Stamford, Connecticut. But last night, your man BC, he was rocked just a bit. He was taken back. He was surprised. I always like to ask myself one question after every single pro wrestling show. Were there 5 things that occurred that I enjoyed? Was there 5 things that were actually good on this show? Not 2, not 3, because every 3-hour show, every 2-hour show should have at least a couple of things that were good. Right? That's an accident. You could even say a coincidence. But when you have 5 things that happened that were absolutely good, now we start talking about a show that could be seen in a light of good. A show that might not be shit on completely. There's a crazy concept. Did we get 5 things last night that were good? 5 things that yours truly enjoyed. 1. Good women's wrestling. When you have Kyrie versus Sasha Banks and Bayley versus Asuka, both in the same night, both given time, both damn good wrestling matches. Yeah, I'd say that's good women's wrestling. For everybody that said, "Oh, BC, now that Becky and Charlotte are gone, you're gonna see just how valuable they truly were to the company." To that I say, first of all, Charlotte isn't actually gone. Give it a few weeks, trust me. Even she said in her own words, this is minor surgery. She'll be back in no time. Now, whether she leaves again after SummerSlam, that's an answer only she knows. But for everybody that said when Becky and Charlotte take off, I'm gonna miss them. I'm gonna see just how valuable they were. Trust me, I know they're good wrestlers, Becky and Charlotte. I know there's a place for them in the company. But I also know they were holding back an entire division because the old man in Stamford was booking them in such a way where they were roadblocking the entire division. The old man was overprotecting Charlotte and Becky. And it was becoming obvious to the point of nausea. Now that they're shelved, now you're starting to see people like Sasha Banks, who should have been flourishing this entire time. You're starting to see her true capabilities once again. You're starting to see people like Kyrie, Sain actually have good wrestling matches, not just placed in there with Nia Jax or Alexa Bliss time after time. No, you put Kyrie in there with somebody like Sasha and you get what you got last night with somebody like Kyrie. You're starting to see Asuka truly shine. We've seen Asuka with championships before, and she was just as irrelevant as when she was sitting in catering. But now you're starting to see the best out of Asuka. What's happening? You ask. Well, she's always had that capability. She's always had the talent and the skill. She was just blocked. So you put Becky and Charlotte on the side and everybody said, BC, I'll see just how valuable they truly were. Well, I was telling you guys from day one, you'll see just how valuable the rest of the roster is if you shelf them or you book them correctly. Becky and Charlotte. Then you will see what the rest of the roster has. You're just starting to see it. I hope we continue to see that with Bianca Belair in the future, who at this point is missing, totally MIA, on the side of a milk carton somewhere. But hopefully this is just the beginning. Hopefully we're just scratching the surface Bianca Belair's next. Naomi is next. And you'll start to see the true talents like Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott truly shine. We're not there yet, especially with Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan, but I'll get to that in the actual review coming up. But good women's wrestling, now that Becky and Charlotte are sidelined, even if just for a bit, now you're starting to see good women's wrestling once again. Matches that captivate. Number 2, the booking of MVP and Bobby Lashley. Week by week, I'm loving what they're doing with Lashley. They're building him up to be a monster like he should have been when he first returned to WWE. You look at the size, the presence, the stature of this dude. You know what he's capable of. You know where he's been, dabbing up in the MMA world. So you know he's a legit fighter as well. And he comes back and he plays and dances around with Rusev and Lana. And he marries Lana and divorces Lana. And you're thinking, what are they doing with Bobby Lashley? This was simple. You throw him, you thrust him into a badass feud with Brock Lesnar. This isn't too hard to figure out. But no, they made this guy a mid-carder right from the jump. And then the only way to go from there with Vince and Kennedy McMahon's booking is catering. Now, you're starting to see more of Bobby Lashley's fierceness. The booking of Bobby Lashley now is more beast status. And that's the way it should have been from day one. Not so much spear heavy, but that full Nelson that truly indicates and showcases the power that Lashley possesses. And when you possess that type of power, people are going to fall at your feet, and that's what we're starting to see. Now, not just Bobby Lashley's booking. You look at the booking of MVP. This is a dude who we thought he was just regulated to the role of manager, but it's clear he's becoming an epic part of the show. With Paul Heyman now gone, you could look at MVP as one of the best promo guys right now in the entire business. MVP is captivating me in just the backstage segments, let alone when he's in that ring. MVP is showing me so much. I'm more invested in MVP now than I was years ago when he was in his initial run with WWE. And that says something. The booking of Bobby Lashley and MVP. I like it. I enjoy it. That's good shit. Number 3. A sweet new title was unveiled last night. That United States Championship. Are you kidding me? We finally have a title that looks like a title. They brought the eagle back. And it's the United States Championship, so you have stars above where the WWE logo. They actually took the time to put in the stars. And then in the back, where it says United States Champion, in that eagle, you see the red and white stripes. Damn! We got an actual championship. For all of us that have been yearning for something like that, when the 24/7 title came up, now even though I'm a Packers fan, so up front I didn't mind that title because it was kind of the green and gold, which is green and yellow for the Packers, but green and gold, we'll take it. It resembled my Green Bay Packers. But the 24/7 title, let's be honest, was nothing near what we thought it was going to be, look-wise. A lot of people disappointed. The TNT Championship over in AEW, that's still not even completed. I would have waited. I would have held off before I brought a plate that I would eat my dinner off of, because that's what AEW is parading out there with the TNT Championship. It is hideous, and I understand it's not completed, and I understand why with this Wabaka going around the globe. But here we are months later, and that still looks like a plate that I'd eat my macaroni dinner off of at night. It looks like something that would be delivered to you at Pizza Hut with your pie on top of it. That is not a championship, what AEW has with that TNT Championship. It's just not. It's hideous. It's a tragedy when you talk championships. That thing cannot be displayed. At this point, get in touch with WWE's manufacturer that they do their toy belts and just have them make a toy TNT Championship. Because what they're parading out there, what Cody has around his waist or strapped around his shoulder, is hideous. I no longer care if it's just not complete or giving them excuses. It needs to be completed. It is a silver plate that has the initials TNT on it. The letters TNT. That's it. It's not a championship, and until you finish it, it will not be such. The 24/7 title, the TNT Championship, the Intercontinental title right now that they just re-debuted a few months ago. Maybe a little longer. I'm still not sold on that. To me, it's like a Rubik's Cube. I still can't figure it out. But with the US Championship, this thing looks like a title. That is something that I actually would want to win. That is something that is prestigious to me, and I want strapped, laced around my shoulder. Sweet new title unveiled. And a lot of people have an issue, I know, with Apollo not being the one to unveil it. Hey, you got the next best option with MVP, not only because he can cut the promo to unveil it, but also because he was the longest reigning US champion holder. Who better? And he's next in line for it. So him holding that thing kind of hostage until Apollo comes back from injury, hey, no harm, no foul for me, man. At least we got a sweet new championship. That's 3. Number 4, Heath Slater's return. That's right, Heath Slater was released when they had that mass cut project that they did a couple months ago. Heath Slater was one of those names. And Heath Slater just recently posted up on social media. He said, July 18, I'm coming, or something like that. July 18, meaning, of course, TNA Impact, I almost said TNT. TNA Impact Slammiversary event. That's July 18th. It looks like Heath Slater has signed some type of deal with Impact Wrestling. So for him to show up last night, you knew it was going to be a one and done. You knew he was just going to get his ass whooped. And I was hoping they were going to have a little bit more. They didn't. That pissed me off. I'll talk about that in the review. But the initial return of Heath Slater, pretty damn cool. Unexpected if you did not pre-know the results ahead of time. This was not a live event. But if you didn't know the results, that was a pretty cool little surprise. And then when he got in the ring and he had that face-to-face back and forth promo with Drew McIntyre, if you were not invested in the storytelling, then you better check the old pulse. That's storytelling 101. They have history, and Heath Slater's making this personal, and it all makes sense too. I love when stories make sense because then I can actually be invested into it. So until they got to the actual match between McIntyre and Slater, which I could not stand, and what happened after the match, I couldn't stand even more. But again, I'll get to all that in the actual review. What I did like with Slater's return, at least for one night, in that back and forth promo that he had with Drew. I was captivated in that shit. You're damn right that's good. And number 5, Rollins and Owens in their back and forth promo. And you just truly believe the storytelling is immaculate because you truly believe they can't stand one another. You truly believe in their words, their mannerisms, the way they do everything in that ring together. You truly believe there's a disdain, a dislike to another level. So that when they set up another nonsensical impromptu matchup, which usually I can't stand and bores the hell out of me, this one not only made sense, but I actually enjoyed it. And of course, I'm talking about when Alistair Black was jumped backstage, Mysterio comes out during the Owens and Rollins back and forth promo, and there was going to be a tag match. Murphy and Rollins versus Alistair Black, Mysterio, but Alistair Black was attacked. So Owens says, no. I'm not going to stand by you, Rollins, because Rollins was trying to recruit Kevin Owens, but I'll gladly any day of the week stand by Rey Mysterio. And Owens still isn't even 100% supposedly storyline-wise. So I like that. And Owens is so confident that he's going to wreck Seth Rollins that he says, why don't we make this a stipulation match? If we win, me and Rey gets to pick the stipulation for your Extreme Rules match. Usually that shit would make 0 sense. Why is Kevin Owens deciding who should decide the stipulation for a match he's not even involved in? Hopefully that makes sense. That usually doesn't make sense. But the way Owens did it, he is so confident that he's going to defeat Seth Rollins. He's going to embarrass Seth Rollins, that he's going to help Rey Mysterio out. If we win, Rey gets to pick the stipulation. It just made sense, finally. I don't mind impromptu. It brings a surprise and a little bit of a shock factor. But if you're not doing it correctly, if you're doing it in the most nonsensical, boring of ways, ways that don't make sense and have zero logic, nobody's going to get behind impromptu matches. It's just like you never had a show created, so superstars are just running to the ring and making their own matches. I don't like that. You can't let the inmates run the asylum. That's why I always personally loved when authority figures were on the show. Not only because it helps storyline progression and helps face characters, but even if it's more heel heavy and more helping out the heels, that's what should be happening in storylines. It at least brings some type of hierarchy. There is some type of justice, whether it's the good kind or bad. There is somebody in charge. Otherwise, it's just a freak show. And that helps create the atmosphere of a circus. That's why I didn't mind authority figures like Mr. McMahon or even Triple H and Stephanie, if done correctly, even Shane McMahon. Now, of course, they ran it into the ground and they fucked it up every which way you could. But if done correctly, I don't mind authority figures. But in an era where nothing makes sense and there is no logic, Owens and Rollins, at least with their type of storytelling, their dislike and disdain for one another, they helped progress the Rey Mysterio-Seth Rollins storyline and gave a meaning to why there's a stipulation being discussed and why Rey Mysterio is deciding that stipulation. We'll go over all that too in the review. But those are 5 things. So when this was said and done, I took a step back and I was like, wait, did I just see a semblance of a good show? Nothing that we would see in the Attitude Era or anything like that. Trust me, I get it. Those were good shows. Even great. But given these trying times, and given the wabaka that's hit the globe, and everybody's hands are kind of tied a bit, I understand that. But I said from day one, there's zero excuse that you cannot put together a damn good show for these times. I'm not saying you have to compete with the Attitude Era or even what you did last year, which wasn't much, but be the best possible show that you can be during these times. Was this the best possible show they can produce during these times? Absolutely not. But it was absolutely a semblance of a good show. And that, my friends, is a start. Now, I know there's going to be people, even down in the comments below, that are going to just try to say it was just a bad, horrible shit show. Because people have become accustomed to just shitting on the show. Just because. Most of the people don't even watch it. They just believe it's going to be shit. And when somebody says it was actually semi-good, they're pissed off. What? No, it wasn't. I saw highlights. Or I watched it and I was bored. BC, you're losing it, man. This was a shit show, man. Okay. I'm telling you no, it wasn't. I'm literally telling you many things. Not just 1, 2, or 3. I'm telling you 5 things up front that were actually enjoyable last night, that are actually good and heading in the right direction. I'm telling you this. Now, if you want me to sit back and just say, oh, you're a smarter wrestling fan or analyst or journalist, I'm not going to do that. I've done my due diligence for over 3 decades. I know what I'm talking about. Clearly, I have a proven track record. Clearly, thousands of people tune into these reviews for a reason. I do my due diligence. I do my research. I dissect these matches, characters, performances, shows better than anybody in this community for a reason, because I want to make sure this is a channel that is dishing out the absolute straight truth, the honest, most ruthless, uncensored truth that you could possibly get. I want to make sure you're getting. And to do that, I have to work triple time, quad time, but I'll do it for you guys, for myself, for this channel, and more importantly, for the entire pro wrestling community, because we need to get this ship back in the right direction. And we only do that if we're truthful with ourselves. If we just shit on everything every week, nothing is going to change, because everybody within that company is just going to sit back and say nothing we do is going to satisfy them anyway. You have to acknowledge the good just as you would the bad. The reason I've accumulated a larger audience over time is because my audience knows you can consistently turn to me and you will consistently get the truth, no matter what subject you're discussing in life, whether it's pro wrestling or sports at large, politics, food, pets. No matter what you're talking about and discussing, if you want your words to be taken seriously, if you want to be respected for your words, then your words have to carry weight. And they only do such if people can believe in your words, if they can believe in what you're saying because they believe in you. If you're not truthful with yourself up front, people will drop you like a bad habit. They'll drop you like a bad habit because in a sense, you're just exposed. They can't believe in your words because you're not truthful. Just because something is bad consistently, you have to know when that one nugget of good popped up and you have to discuss that. You have to talk about the good as well. You can't just stuff it on the shelf because it's not the cool thing to do these days. Like in pro wrestling, the cool thing to do is obviously to shit on Vince McMahon and WWE. Hell, on this channel we do it consistently, but that's because it needs to be said. It's justified. I don't do it as a shtick or as a gimmick. I understand a lot of pro wrestling fans have turned away. They don't even watch the product. They just tune in to channels like The Amplified Man because I am more entertaining. Some people out there love when the shows are really bad because then they can tune into The Amplified Man and I'm really gonna send them for an entertainment fucking juggernaut expedition. We're really gonna go for a ride. This was a shit show. Can't wait to check out the Ant-Man. And I don't blame you. It is gonna be a ride. Hell, sometimes if I ever go back and look at the zaniness from some of the really bad shows in my reviews, I'm even shocked at how entertaining I truly am because I just go off. So I understand how there's entertainment during a bad show. You can tune into the Amplified Man and I'm going to provide even more entertainment. But this is a legit review channel where I want pro wrestling to get better and I want WWE to be the WWE that I know it's capable of being. I'm not one of these people that want to see WWE fail. There's people in this community, there's podcasters that literally say the words, I want WWE to fail. And I'm just mind boggled by that. I don't want them to fail. I don't want Vince McMahon to fail. I want them to succeed. And I'm trying with my voice, with the community that I have, no matter how large or small, I'm trying to do my part in making it better. So I'm glad that I entertain everybody along the way. And when the shows are really bad, I'm glad I can provide more entertainment than the show itself. But I'm here to do my main goal here. My main goal, my main job is to make pro wrestling better than it is. Some videos might be more entertaining than others, but when it's all said and done, I hope every video is informative, knowledgeable, makes you think. And if I'm doing all of that, then I guess I'm doing my job, right? Or at least meeting the goals and expectations that I have set for myself. My mission statement when I had about 25 subscribers is the same now that I have thousands of subscribers. It's the same mission statement. I want to help the pro wrestling industry, never harm it. Monday Night Raw for July 6, 2020. Let's cover this and dissect it a little more in depth. We kicked off with my boy Drew McIntyre. He starts the show off by calling out Dolph Ziggler. Of course, they have a title match at Extreme Rules next Sunday. I believe that's the 19th of July. Possibly. Is that the 19th? Yeah, 19th. 18th is Slammiversary for Impact Wrestling. Anyway, Dolph, Drew, they're still setting up their next matchup. We've seen them a million times in the past. We've seen them as a tag team a million times. But we're going to do it one more time with a stipulation on the line. In fact, this was the big selling point for WWE last night. This is what they were, for the past several days, advertising. One of the key reasons you have to tune into Raw is because Dolph Ziggler is going to make his decision. Like we were clearly hanging on that anticipation for the entire week. That is what got us excited when we saw that pop up in our emails. Whoa, Dolph is going to make his decision. He's gonna decide on a stipulation. You have to tune into Monday Night Raw now. It was just so bogus. I'm like, come on, man. That's not making anybody go, wow, I have to tune in tonight. Anyway, that's what they were advertising. That was one of the big selling points. So Drew calls out Dolph. He wants to get this over with right now, right there and then. Dolph hits the top of the ramp. He says he's keeping his decision secret. So all of that hype, and literally within the first couple of minutes of Raw, he basically tells everyone he's not going to tell you what it is. And why is he not going to? Because Vince McMahon doesn't even know what the fuck it's going to be. Go out there and tell him you don't know. Because we don't know. So he says we're going to keep it secret. He then has a passionate back and forth promo with Drew. I have no problem when Drew and Dolph are in there having a promo with one another. You know Drew McIntyre is awesome on the stick. You know Dolph Ziggler, when he taps into that next level status on the stick, you know he's going to be straight fire. So just let them do their thing. It's like when Rollins and Owens are on the mic together, I know they're going to be fine. Edge and Orton, for instance, obviously they're going to be fine. There's just certain people when they're in there together on the stick, you know they're going to be great. Just sit back and enjoy the promo for what it's going to be, because it's going to be fire. And this was the same way, man. Dolph and Drew really hit each other pretty hard. I liked it. Dolph was talking about how even when they were together, Drew always just thought about himself. He was just very selfish, and it was always just about him getting to the top, and no matter who he's got to stomp on in the process. And he brings out a returning Heath Slater to prove his point. Heath Slater comes down to the ring. Now, this is huge because we know he cut some type of deal with Impact Wrestling. So we knew this was a one and done. We knew this was just going to be Heath showing up, doing a job of some sort, and then going to Impact on July 18th for Slammiversary. But it was still cool to see Heath Slater. Because you guys know I'm high on Heath. I thought that gimmick with the I got kids, I thought that could have been something if he was given the time. But just like everybody else, he wasn't given the time. In fact, he just got released. So I'm high on Heath Slater. It was really cool to see him back in WWE, even just for one night. And on top of that, the story that's being told. This is beautiful, man. Dolph and McIntyre, it's limited because they have so much history. You can play on that. The downside of that is you can only play on that because they're not going to get creative in any other way, or at least that's what we thought. But they did kind of send in a little bit of a twist. Instead of just playing on Dolph and Drew's history, they brought in Heath to help elevate the story. There's no harm, no foul here, because Heath Slater wasn't a part of the company anyway. He cut this new deal with Impact. It's an extra payday for him. Hey, are you available? Come on in. We'll cut you a paycheck. We'll give you some fucking TV time, whatever the fuck. But this is a no harm, no foul for Heath Slater. In the way he did the job, I'm going to talk about that in a second, which I'm not happy about, but for different reasons. For Heath, this is only going to up his status. Trust me. We saw this with Matt Hardy. So if this is Vince McMahon's way to just throw some more dirt on him while he's down, it's going to backfire. Because all you're doing is giving Slater TV time. But that's my point. You're only helping Heath Slater out here. We get to see Heath Slater, and it helps elevate the storyline. Something that Dolph and McIntyre was missing was that spark. Heath Slater comes down to the ring, and he cuts an awesome promo with Drew, and he backs up what Dolph is saying. You are selfish. You've always been. I've always been there for you in your time of need and in your celebrations. I was always right there with you because you were my boy. You were one of my best friends. But when I needed you, like when I got released, where were you? Where were the text messages? They stopped. You became champion and it was all about you and you forgot about me. It's what you do. That's how you live your life. It ain't just Dolph. It ain't just me. I have many of these situations and stories that I could pull from. And I loved it. It was so personal. It was so direct. And Drew McIntyre's mannerisms and everything, man, it's like he knew he dropped the ball with their friendship. So Heath says, dude, now I want my shot. I want my chance. I want my match with you. What's the matter? You don't think I'm worthy enough? And Drew is like, nah, come on, man. We're friends. I'm not going to. He's like, what? You don't want to fight me? And Heath Slater pushes Drew McIntyre. And Drew still does not want to fight him. He does not want to give him a match. So then Heath Slater smacks the taste out of Drew McIntyre's mouth. And that's when McIntyre says, fine, you got your match. We cut to commercial, and when we come back, we have Heath Slater versus Drew McIntyre. I'm down. Former 3MB members, we know their history. This is elevating Dolph Ziggler. Heath Slater's getting a payday. Hey, the dude just lost his job, and WWE's like, hey, you want to make some extra money? Pretty cool. You know, I'm looking at the positives here. Now I'm hoping they have a pretty damn good match, and something happens really cool at the end. I don't want Heath Slater to just do the job, and that was it. Unfortunately, it went off the rails. 90 seconds later, this match was over. Heath Slater got a Claymore kick that booted his head straight off into the 7th row. Is there even rows at the Performance Center? Well, it was probably in the gym at that point, which is a good 35 feet away from the actual ring. That's where Heath Slater's dome piece landed. That was a badass Claymore, but that was it. You brought Heath Slater back for that epic promo, and then 90 seconds later, he's looking up at the lights. The promo lasted longer than the match. And then post-match, Dolph Ziggler beats the hell out of Heath Slater. Maybe he thinks he dropped the ball or some shit, but Dolph Ziggler was starting an attack on Heath. So Heath Slater not only got beat in 90 seconds, but then he's getting the shit kicked out of him by Dolph Ziggler. Drew McIntyre had to come back, chase off Dolph, and then Drew McIntyre and Heath Slater celebrate in the middle of the ring. It was a cool moment when they hugged and shit, don't get me wrong. But just a few minutes earlier, you were feuding. Now all of a sudden you're best friends again. Well, that goes against everything Heath Slater just said. I had a moment of realization, a moment of clarity, an epiphany. You're not a true friend, you're a douche. And then a few minutes later, okay, we're best friends again. That's what I didn't like, man. You started telling a story beautifully, and then you went off the rails. If you're going to have Heath come back in that role, then he stays in that role. Maybe he loses the match. Not in 90 seconds, but maybe he loses. Absolutely. I love the way they're booking McIntyre. McIntyre's been a true beast as of late, ever since he won the title. And this is what I've been waiting for years with Drew McIntyre. So I'm loving how they're booking Drew. But if you're going to bring back Heath, make it a 10-minute match. Make him lose. But then before he leaves the arena, maybe they jump Drew McIntyre backstage. Right? I mean, have some purpose for Heath's return. Now, as far as Heath Slater being just dissed by McMahon, I'm sure McMahon thought about it that, you know, he's going to Impact. Let's make him even more irrelevant. But just like we saw with Matt Hardy in the Randy Orton storyline that they did before Matt Hardy went to AEW, that only upped the ante for Hardy. That only made Matt Hardy more relevant. This is only going to make Heath Slater more relevant. So that's, again, why I say no harm, no foul. And mad props to Heath Slater. It looks like he's banging it out, man. It looks like he's hitting that and getting those, not just the buys, man. It looks like his delts are popping out. That's what I like to see, man. Get in that gym. I tell every wrestler that. It's not just going to benefit yourself, which it will drastically, but it's going to help the superstars you're in the ring with feel more safe with you. That's why I tell people like Dominic and Orange Cassidy, get in the gym, man. A little bit of muscle, a little bit of how you doing is not going to hurt. Pump out those delts, baby. I promise you, you're going to feel better about yourself too. You know, and people are going to want to work with you. They're going to feel much more safe with you. So it's good to see Heath Slater really taking that under consideration. We saw that when Jinder Mahal got released. And he's like, all right, I know what I got to do. I got to hit the gym and start taking care of myself. And then others will take notice. And that's what he did. Drew McIntyre, man, when he left after being released, he came back a beast, just like Jinder Mahal. Just like Jinder, Drew McIntyre followed the same path too. They both became world champions after being released. So if that's any indication, Heath Slater is the final 3MB member to be released. Maybe one day he comes back super jacked, wins that championship. You never know, man. That seems to be the trajectory of 3MB. But anyway, Heath Slater returning. I loved it. I loved the promo. The match with McIntyre was horrible. As much as I love seeing McIntyre be a beast, I felt that should have went a little differently, obviously. And then post-match extracurricular activities, man, that was horrible. Dolph now beating up Heath, and then McIntyre saving him and them embracing. It would have been a really cool moment, them hugging, if it was done much better. It's almost like they had a great idea, have Heath come back, and then they didn't know where to go with it. And the train went off the tracks, man. It was just, man, that left a bad taste in my mouth. Kyrie Sain returns up next to Monday Night Raw. She's been gone for several weeks. In fact, it's now being reported that she is leaving WWE soon. So maybe McMahon wants to have her fulfill her last dates on camera. And if she is leaving, man, she looked pretty dominant last night. I gotta be honest with you. That's probably the best Kyrie has looked in a long time. Not just match-wise, I'm talking her booking. So that's really weird. Usually if you're leaving the company, you're being booked pretty weak. Like Matt Hardy, for instance. But Kyrie Sain looked pretty strong last night. She had a matchup with Sasha Banks. Bayley and Asuka were both at ringside. This was a fun match, obviously, because it's Kyrie and Sasha. And this was Kyrie's best match in a long time. When you take Kyrie away from matches with Nia Jax consistently, matches with Alexa Bliss, just matches that are not going to really compliment Kyrie, and you put her into the ring with a wrestler like Sasha, you're going to see what Kyrie is capable of. And what we knew she was back in NXT, we knew she was capable of back in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Oh, I'm sorry, not New Japan, in Japan. Not New Japan. Although they should be doing a lot more women's matches, right? But they don't. That's not my business, man. We have our hands full here in the States. But Kyrie, we knew her potential, and to see what Vince McMahon has made her, it's just depressing. And then you see her last night, man, with Sasha, and you're like, oh yeah, that's what she's capable of, you know? I always knew that, but a lot of fans, they were reminded of that last night. And I'm not surprised, again, being in there with Sasha Banks. Sasha makes everybody that she's in there with make like $1 million. She makes them look like such. And again, with Kyrie, it doesn't take a lot. She already is that damn good. So, love seeing that matchup, man. Bayley interferes late in this. Kyrie wins the match via DQ. And that's what I mean. If she's leaving, you're having her defeat Sasha Banks. I mean, that's pretty huge. You know what I mean? For somebody who's leaving, I don't care if it's DQ, count out, you're beating Sasha freaking Banks at a time where Sasha Banks is fucking on that next level. Pretty huge. You know, that's really huge for Kyrie. Post-match, Kyrie delivers a flying elbow to the outside. So she gets up on the top of the post, and Bayley and Sasha are on the outside, and she dives off with that flying elbow. It looks fucking immaculate. I always said, ever since Macho Man Randy Savage, nobody has delivered a flying elbow like Kyrie Sain. It is the best flying elbow in the business. Unfortunately, I still recall, it's cemented in my dome piece of how tragic it was. You guys remember Phil Brooks, CM Punk's, the way he used to do, did I say CM Punk's? CM Punk's, the way he used to do the elbow drop. Wow, I understand he was paying homage to the Macho Man, but that was so hard to watch. It was so unorthodox because we know Phil Brooks is just not a good athlete anyway. He's just a very unorthodox, weird kind of wrestler because, I mean, he's just not athletic. So when he tried to do a top rope move, man, it came off so bad. And then you see somebody like Kyrie, and it's like, yeah, thank you, Kyrie, thank you. Even Bayley does a good flying elbow. But Punk, wow, was that bad, dude. And he kept doing it. And I'm like, fuck, man, you gotta stop. That's almost worse than your running bulldog. I could be here all day picking on Punk's wrestling. But Kyrie Sain, man, what a matchup with her and Sasha Banks. And I'm just thinking, like, see what you can do when you stop putting Kyrie in there with Nia Jax and Alexa and people like that. Just put her in there with wrestlers and let her have a wrestling match. And I was pleased with the time that they gave them as well. And I'm okay with the finish. Bayley making a save, but really just DQing Sasha. Everybody wins here, I feel. Our number one ended with Alistair Black attacked backstage. We didn't see the attack itself, but we saw Buddy Murphy and Seth Rollins in frame. And on top of that, there was a Rey Mysterio mask on Alistair Black while he was down on the ground. And Seth Rollins was the last one to be in possession of that mask. So it was pretty clear when you connect the dots that this was Rollins and Murphy. And there was an advertised match beforehand of Murphy and Rollins versus Rey Mysterio and Alistair Black. So this was a way to write Alistair Black out of the match. So you're asking, okay, why? Where are they going with this? Well, the start of hour number 2 answered that question when the Kevin Owens show had special guest Seth Rollins with Buddy Murphy by his side. And that's how we kind of inserted Kevin Owens into this match. And to be honest, it was actually well done. The believability when Rollins and Owens are promoing with one another is just off the charts, man. So I was captivated by it. You truly believe that there's disdain there, that there's just this dislike between the two. And just everything about it, man. The mannerisms, the way that they look away at the right times, and they just show that frustration. It's clutch. There's just something about them two that they just don't like with one another. So I like that. Mysterio ends up coming down the ramp with Dominic. They're pissed, not just because of what Rollins has been doing to them, but what they just did to their tag partner, Alistair Black, in the back. So they're pissed off. And Rollins is like, what are you going to do? You're going to have your son Dominic take his place? Or what are you going to do? You're going to try to fight both me and Murphy 2-on-1? Is that what you're going to do, Ray? Now, the whole time, Rollins was actually, even though there's disdain, he was trying to recruit Owens to join the dark side, basically. So Owens looks at Rollins and he says, there's no chance I'll ever stand by your side, but I'll stand by Rey Mysterio's side any day. And he says, I'll be glad if you'll accept me, Ray, to tag with you tonight. And then he takes it a step further. And he says, but let's raise the stakes. Winner gets to decide your Extreme Rules stipulation. Normally, I don't like that because it makes zero sense. Kevin Owens, a guy who's not even in the match at Extreme Rules, he's going to decide who gets to decide the stipulation. If that makes sense. And it shouldn't, because that's WWE's MO. They never make sense. This actually works because there is that disdain for one another. And you could truly feel that Owens doesn't want to just beat Rollins last night. Owens wants to embarrass him. So he wants something even more on the line. When we beat you, not if. When we beat you, Ray gets to pick your stipulation at Extreme Rules. So that's why this actually worked for yours truly. I actually thought this was just, it flowed so beautifully. And that was the stipulation for the match. The winners get to pick the stipulation between Ray and Seth at Extreme Rules. And Rollins' response to that was, this just keeps getting better. One-eyed Ray and one-legged Kevin. So he's like, let's do this. Absolutely. There's no way you're going to beat us. And when we came back from commercial, we had this tag match. It was a good matchup. Alistair hits the ramp towards the end of this thing to cause a distraction. Mysterio hits a frog splash on Murphy and gets to the W. Post-match, Mysterio says the stip for he and Rollins will be an eye for an eye match. Don't know what the fuck that is. Sounds pretty violent, so I guess we're in. I mean, we're in this thing or not. That's the bottom line. It's Mysterio and Rollins. We're hoping they just put on a damn good wrestling match anyway. So if somebody's losing an eye in this, all right, it's Extreme Rules. We'll take a little bit more violence, I guess. I don't know what the hell this is supposed to consist of. Yeah, I mean, is each person going to have a screwdriver in the ring? I mean, how do you do this? But it's like the Boneyard match. Everybody was like, what the hell's a Boneyard match, right? And then you get to it, it's basically just, it was a buried alive match. That's all it really was. So I think an eye for an eye match is really just going to be a no holds barred match, right? And then they're just going to try to, I don't know, take someone's eye. I don't know. We'll probably see just Rollins like his eye is jammed into the steps or something. And then I fully believe that Rollins would pretty much be written off TV at that point. His gal, Becky Lynch, is having a baby, obviously. With what's going on in the world, you don't want to necessarily compromise her or the baby. So I would think that Rollins might just stay home for a few months. And this is a good way to be written off TV. An eye for an eye match. Well, Ray already had one of his eyes taken. What are you going to do? Take the other one? Now, Mysterio is basically working on a handshake deal with McMahon right now. I understand. So you could write him off TV too by making him lose both his fucking... I don't know. I just think that either one, this is a good way for either one of them to be written off TV for a while. So in that aspect, this does make sense. Just odd that that's what they came up with. But yeah. Good matchup too, by the way. That tag match, dude. If you can, get my interest during these times with no audience, and you're going to have at least a 10-minute match and you can pique my interest throughout it, then I'm all in on that, dude. That's a bonus. MVP and Bobby Lashley are out middle of the ring to unveil the new United States Championship title. And man, now I'm sure there's going to be those people out there that are going to try to claim that this is an ugly title, it's hideous, it's garbage, it's trash. These are probably a lot of them, the same people that are claiming the TNT Championship is awesome. Or when it's finished, it's going to be awesome. But they're giving the TNT title in AEW all of this praise, and they're going to shit on the United States Championship. And if that's the case, you can go take a seat over in the corner. Nobody needs to hear from you. It's in the eye of the beholder if you like it or not. But you're going to claim that that is an ugly title? I don't see where the fuck you could possibly be coming from. This championship has the right amount of gold on that leather backdrop strap. Stars, stripes, you got the eagle that was brought back. The fucking eagle has returned. And you have the words United States Champion, not just the WW that the other two heavyweight titles have. So this is a huge upgrade in every fucking way. This is a championship that yours truly would want to win. I seriously would want to win that just so I could hold that because that looks prestigious. I want that around my shoulder or around my waist. I would love to carry something like that. If you're a professional wrestler and that's a title that you're going for, I want that shit. You know, you look at what Cody is walking around with. I don't care if that's completed or not. Come on, man. Then you leave it in the back or you make a toy. I could draw you something on paper that looks like a better championship than what TNT title over in AEW is. The 24/7 championship, the Intercontinental title. There's glimpses of it that I like, and then when I really look at that IC title, it's like a Rubik's Cube. It's confusing. I can't figure it out. At least the United States title, man, it is what it is. It is a prestigious championship. The stars, the stripes, the eagle, the leather, the gold, the design. I like it all. If you don't like it, that's fine. Please don't try to convince anyone that it's ugly. Stop it. You're only fooling yourself, man. And I love what they did with MVP unveiling it because Apollo obviously wasn't at the tapings. They wanted to pump this title out. So MVP's like, all right, since I'm the longest reigning United States champion anyway, and I'm going for this title next Sunday at Extreme Rules, because I believe that's the match, MVP and Apollo. I thought it was going to be Bobby Lashley and Apollo for the title. Looks like it's going to be MVP, which, again, why I said last week, MVP beating your champion Apollo makes zero sense. Well, it makes even more less sense now that he's going for this. So he already beat the champion. I hate when you decide a number one contender by already beating the champion. But that's what it looks like. Now MVP has a shot next Sunday. So anyway, I don't like that necessarily, but I love the fact that MVP told Lashley, you might as well just crown me the champion now. So Lashley goes to put the title around his waist. And here comes Ricochet and Cedric. Why? We have no idea. Remains a mystery even this morning. We all are clueless as to why Ricochet and Cedric need to defend Apollo at every turn. Apollo's got the championship, you have nothing. So now you're just reduced to the roles of helping our friend the champion while you remain schmucks. Just looks weird, I don't know. I know that's the booking, but I don't think Ricochet and Cedric are really helping their cause out, man. Back from commercial, of course, all four men are in a nonsensical tag match. You knew where this was leading to. It was fast-paced and full of action at least, so there wasn't any moment, and this is hard to do with no crowd in attendance. It's hard to, keep our interest the entire match. I feel like this match, as nonsensical as it was, I feel like it was done correctly. Not an enormous amount of time was given to it, and the time that they were given, it was action-packed, and they did the right sequences to keep me engaged. Again, that's hard to do with no crowd. Unless you're like Edge and Randy Orton, where you can go 37 minutes and brawl all over the Performance Center and keep my attention. This isn't Edge and Orton. So it's hard for these four to do such, and they did it, man. And I love how MVP was still in his suit. You know, his suit, he's got his dress shirt on, I believe his tie for a portion of this. I like that because that shows you that it's really impromptu. Like he wasn't planning on having this match. You know, here comes Ricochet and Cedric. You want to do this? Let's do this. So I like that too. It's the small details of just him wrestling in that suit. It gives that factor of, oh yeah, this wasn't supposed to happen. So I do like that as well, man. It's those small details that I catch. I love that shit. But fast paced and like I said, full of action. So I can't overly shit on this. I hate the way that it was initially set up. Just Cedric and Ricochet coming down to defend their friend. What? The match ends with a spear to Cedric, and Lashley racks up the W. Post-match, Lashley locks in the full Nelson on Cedric as well. Ricochet attempts to make the save to break that up, but Lashley was booked as a beast here. He gets the W, and then post-match locks in that full Nelson like the beast he should have been booked as all along. So a double good thing to see for me here on Lashley. The win and post-match extracurricular activity making Lashley look like a fucking beast. It's at the expense of Ricochet and Cedric. Sucks for them, but awesome for Lashley. And again, MVP continues to raise his stock in that company. This is a dude who, when he came back and we saw he couldn't really go in the ring anymore, I think he's doing better today than when he first came back. And you can't blame it on Rust because he was wrestling around the globe still on the independents. But when he first came back, I was kind of like, all right, this is kind of a bust. And now you look at him, and he's one of the bright spots in the company. So I couldn't be more happy with the booking of Bobby Lashley and to see MVP rise up the ranks once again. Pretty cool. And again, I'm okay with seeing MVP and Apollo at Extreme Rules for the championship. I just wish they didn't have Apollo lose a match to MVP last week then. Because then we've already seen the match, and there's nothing to really be excited about. You know, I can't stand that shit. Hour number 2 ends, and hour 3 begins with the Big Show and the Viking Bowlers, or Viking Golfers, Viking Axe Throwers, whatever the fuck you want to call them. The Viking Dudes versus Andrade, Garza, and Randy Orton. Of course, Zelina Vega is out there as well. So this is what we're reduced to. This is what they're advertising, right? The Big Show and the Vikings. And you look at Randy Orton and you see Andrade and Garza. You know, you can't help but think of the old Legacy group, you know, with Orton and 2 other youngsters by his side. Unfortunately for me, Andrade and Garza, the more I think about it, they just don't go together. You know, at first I was thinking maybe. Now that I look, it's just, you truly know that Andrade and Garza have to be on their own, not even as a tag team. They need to be on their own because they have that type of talent. Now, keep Zelina with them, but you can produce some pretty cool storylines, and their talent will back everything up. But throwing them with Randy Orton would absolutely make zero sense. It's not a situation like Ted DiBiase Jr. and Cody Rhodes. At that point, they were true up-and-coming youngsters. Andrade is far from that, and Garza has a history of his own. He doesn't need to be in the shadow of anybody. So I think that would be a step back for both of them. But this was your match. This was nearly 15 minutes in length. I had 0 fucks to give for this match, and when it was all said and done, I'm glad I gave it 0 fucks. Orton RKOs and pins Eric from the Viking Raiders, and the Raiders lose another match. There's no other big story to tell here. They're losers once again. So all of these months trying to be this comedy act, and what is their reward at the end of the day? It is one loss after another. But BC, this is gonna lead to something cool, man. Don't worry. The comedy is just for now. Just wait, they have big plans. And I was like, are you sure? Do you know who you're talking about? The old man in Stamford? You're giving him the benefit of the doubt? Because I'm seeing a tag team that was once feared, respected, turn into absolute clown show jokes. And when it's all said and done, there ain't nothing going to be given to them. Guess who was right? Hi, my name's Beasley. I'm usually right. Trust me. And when talking about pro wrestling and WWE more specific, I don't want to be right most of the time because I know that leads to something not good. Me being right about WWE usually means something went off the tracks time after time. Backstage, MVP attempts to recruit Cedric. So MVP is pulling 24/7 duty here. He tries to recruit Cedric too. And he says, I'm in the hurt business, you're in the catering business, because that's where you'll be sitting the rest of your career. Basically, if you don't come into my fold. I love that, man. MVP, again, I said this already 3 times in this vid. He's on a whole nother level recently. And he's taking that stick and he is running with it. He's taking his ball and he's running with it, man. So cool to see. Billie Kay is taking on Ruby Riott next. This was less than 2 minutes in length. Billie Kay pins Ruby Riott. This brings Ruby's losing streak to 20. That's right. Ruby's last 20 televised matchups, she has won 0. I'm going to say this for a third time and I want you to comprehend this. Ruby Riott in her last 20 televised matches, 20, okay, is 0 for 20. And if you take away the 1 victory she had on her 21st match many moons ago, she beat Nikki Cross. If you take that victory away, again, that was 21 televised matches ago. If you take that 1 victory away, she is 0 for 37. That's Ruby Riott, somebody who is actually a good wrestler. You never would have known it because of how Vince books her and the match time that he gives her. Again, this one here was only 2 minutes in length, less than. But she's actually pretty damn good. She once took Charlotte Flair to the limit. And she can't even, 0 for 37 if you take away that 1 Nikki Cross victory 21 televised matches ago. It's fucking sad, man. Her and Liv Morgan. So what's Vince gonna do? He's gonna put Liv and Ruby together. Okay? You tried this before with the Riot Squad and they were complete jokes, losers. That's what you made them into. So then you separated them and you did nothing with them. So now because you have nothing else to do with them, you don't know where to go with them, and it takes too much time and effort, according to the old man, to put stock into them, to give them a push. So now we're going to put them back together. They may win a few matches together as a team, and then what's going to happen a month or 2 down the road? They're going to be in obscurity again, sitting at catering with Cedric. By the way, proud of my girl Billie Kay though, man. You know I'm a big fan of Billie Kay, Peyton Royce, the Iconics. I loved it, man. Billie Kay, great for her. I'm not, there's no shade at Billie Kay. It's just, I'm just upset that they put Ruby Riott in that situation. That's all. But Peyton Royce, Billie Kay, man. Yeah, I think they're entertaining, man. I don't apologize for that either. Main event, Asuka versus Bayley. Champion versus champion match. Kyrie is in Asuka's corner. Sasha's in Bayley's corner. Nikki Cross is on commentary because at Extreme Rules, Nikki will be taking on Bayley, just so you know. Because I know, at first I was like, why the fuck is Nikki Cross out there? And then I had to remind myself that they have a matchup. Well, for a minute she was at commentary. Cross went ballistic very early on in this thing. And Nikki Cross was literally carried away by security. So she wasn't out there long. Following a solid 20-minute-ish match, Cross appears in the crowd behind the plexiglass, so she comes back. Bayley is stunned for some reason, like she literally has seen a ghost. I'm thinking, it's fucking Nikki Cross and she's behind plexiglass. Relax. Bayley's like, oh my god, it's Nikki. Okay. Oh no. It's not like she got arrested. She was just like taken away from commentary. So that was kind of odd to me. But this was enough of a distraction to allow Asuka to pin Bayley in kind of like a roll-up fashion. She kind of brought her legs back. It's the same thing as a roll-up to me. And Asuka wins this match, so I have no issue with that, man. Seeing Asuka not only with a championship, but also winning matches, this is something WWE never did in the past. Usually their champions are always losing matches. Or when they're winning, it's nothing to do with the title. It's just always ass backwards. But this is Asuka, like, I'm just starting to see people booked a little more properly in that women's division, man. Sasha, I'm starting to see so much more out of her. Not that I didn't know it was in her, it's actually being allowed to be shown now. And she's on all three brands and like killing it, nailing it. Whereas I remember Charlotte was on all three brands. We were like, oh, can this please end? Sasha's captivating. Sasha's having matches in NXT with Io Shirai. That's the talk of the wrestling world. Then she's over on Raw having matches with Kyrie, Sain. She's about to have a match with Asuka. Eventually, she'll have a match with Bayley for the SmackDown Women's Championship. We totally believe anyway. I mean, this is awesome to see. And on the flip side, Asuka, man, she wins the championship. And yeah, I said wins. She won the Money in the Bank briefcase. So whether you think it was given to her or not, she earned that championship. She's been earning it for years now. And she looks like a champion now, man. More times than not. I mean, there's some hiccups in the road. Like last week's booking with Asuka, I wasn't a fan of. And so much others. But I'm starting to see glimpses of improvement, though. And that's so good to see. And Bayley has been playing that heel character beautifully. So I think a loss like this, it really doesn't hurt her. You know, and trust me, I just said I hate when champions are always losing. But in this situation where Bayley is really starting to own that heel character, I don't feel this really hurt her. I think Asuka winning was the only way you could go here. So I liked everything about it. I just didn't like the way that Bayley got distracted. Nikki Cross is just in behind. Now, it was hilarious if you're a fan watching because Nikki Cross, who's a little ballistic anyway, and she's smacking the plexiglass. It's funny. But I don't think Bayley should be that shocked. So again, when it's not realistic or when it's out of the realm of believability, that's when I have an issue with it. Yeah. But Asuka winning this match, and again, they gave them like 20-something minutes, 20-ish anyway. It's awesome, man. And this is what we're starting to see, man. When you remove Charlotte Flair, when you remove Becky Lynch, and you start to see the women shine like I told you they would, if you just, remove Charlotte Flair, remove Becky Lynch, this is the shit you will see. The women's division will flourish. You got to give them a chance, though. Right? Becky Lynch is over here being overly protected over here. Charlotte Flair is taking up all the scraps and being overly protected. Who does that leave room for? Nobody. Now you're starting to see people come up, and it's pretty cool to fucking see. So, man, just to see how they're booking Bobby Lashley, just B status, awesome. To see Drew McIntyre continue to look like a world champion, awesome. To see MVP really come into his own, and this might be one of MVP's best runs in the company, beating out when he was in his prime. I'm starting to see that. That's awesome. The women's division flourishing and seeing matches like Kyrie versus Sasha and Asuka versus Bayley last night. Awesome. Heath Slater returning, even though it ended just horrendously. Seeing him back and having that personal, impactful, see what I did there? Impactful promo with Drew McIntyre. I loved it, man. Just a lot of good I saw last night. Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins and having their face-to-face back-and-forth promo. I enjoyed that, and setting up the stipulation for Rey Mysterio and Rollins at Extreme Rules. I like how they did that finally. Man, there was good. That's awesome to see, man. That's awesome to see. Can we count that this is going to be consistent? Probably not. You know how I know? Because in recent memory, there's been glimpses of good episodes, and the next week, they were right back at their old ways. And that's why I don't put too much stock into this. But for that night, pretty damn good. Thank you, Bruce! Right? Everybody that bitches that Bruce Pritchard is the reason that the show sucks. Yeah, because it hasn't sucked for years. Yeah, because it was glorious under Paul Heyman. Stop it. Vince McMahon is calling the shots. Nobody else. Just because they have a fancy title like creative head writer or whatever the fuck you want to call them, it's Vincent Kennedy McMahon. But if you are going to shit on Bruce Pritchard for bad shows, you better thank Bruce Pritchard for giving you some good shit last night. Thanks, Bruce! On the Amplified, man. For now, coffees and ass whoopings. I'll see you guys later in the week for a lot of content. AEW's Fyter Fest night number 2. We'll have the review for that coming up. NXT is coming at you with Great American Bash night number 2. We'll have the review for that as well. SmackDown's review and reaction later in the week. And of course, the 69th, one of my favorite numbers in the world. 69th podcast, the Amplify Pro Wrestling Podcast. That's coming at you this very week. So a lot of content still to come. But again, like I said, man, you guys relax now for a moment. Get a game plan for the day, for the rest of the week. Pound down that coffee and go whoop that ass, man. Be the best version of yourself that you can possibly be. Always think, be, live. Amplified. Put it up, baby. Put them up. Ready? Ow! Check you later.